Yes! Welcome to Snow The Goalie, the only Flyers podcast, the people's podcast, players podcast, prognosticators podcast, Pedialyte podcast, presidential podcast. We're back. Hey, preseason started. We are here. Hello. Welcome on into the show. I'm Russ Joy on Twitter @JoyOnBroad, and I'm so happy to be once again joined by Anthony SanFilippo, who you can find on Twitter @AntSanPhilly, but maybe more importantly, a great man, an all-time great. Number 6 in your program, number 1 in our hearts, rejoining the program after a very eventful summer, Bundy. Find him on Twitter @CTherien6. I want to go to you first, fella. How the hell are you?
Doing great, guys. It's been a good start to the fall. Sports teams are all doing really well. Looking forward to the Flyers starting. Got the Phillies doing well. The Eagles with a great start to the season. And I've been doing well. I got a chance to go to Minnesota on the weekend to see my daughter and her husband, who plays for the Minnesota Vikings. They had a big win over Cincinnati, 48-10. So it's good, and I'm ready to get kicking again with hockey. We're 14 days away, I believe, from is it 14 days yesterday, I think, was the opener. So it's going to be pretty cool.
Anthony, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Doing well. Been very busy, obviously, with the Phillies.
Yes.
But things are going well. And I was over at training camp the other day. I got to spend a little bit of time with the boys. It was good. I'm looking forward to the start of the hockey season, even though it's going to cross over with playoff baseball for a little bit. We'll see how long that happens. But it'll be good. It'll be good. I'm actually really excited for this hockey season. There's a lot of good stuff coming up ahead. And I got to tell you, Rob, I think I still say this. I said this the last time I think we did a show. I think we might need to get some new video in the open because we're all a lot older.
Are we?
We're all looking a lot older.
You think so?
Currently than we do in that open video. Like you look like a young buck in that video. And Bundy and I got less hair. Bundy's a little bit more gray. Like we gotta go a little bit. We gotta age the show a little bit. It's time.
Well, I mean, I will say just really quickly. I mean, I technically look older because now I technically am older because yesterday was my birthday.
Yes, happy birthday.
Yes, happy birthday,
And
Russ.
Bundy, I saw Bundy posted on Facebook. Very sweet of him. I don't remember if Anthony did, but
Ant wasn't on Facebook yesterday.
sad.
That's
All those years, Bundy, all those years in the trenches, all those years sticking up for the guy. Can't even wish his pal a happy birthday, but Bundy
I just did publicly.
Bundy is a great man, salt of the earth, mensch of the sench. And I don't know where we want to start here. Obviously, we have the passing of Bernie Parent that we want to talk about and reflect on. Video Guy Amadeo, I'm going to give him a shout out today. Video Guy Amadeo told me, I don't know, like weeks ago, that he was going to be going to Florida with the family, and I totally forgot. So on Sunday, he's like, hey, don't forget I'm out this week. And I was like, oh, okay, not ideal. And we found out about the passing of Bernie Parent, and I said, hey, before you leave, could you clip up a few things from like some old interviews that we did with Bernie on the show? And wouldn't you know it, Video Guy Amadeo, like a bona fide stud, worked up clips, shorts across all platforms. Lovely gent. And so people have been seeing that stuff all week. And I guess we could start there. We have to get to talking about the team, about what we're seeing in net, on the ice, all that. And I've been told there may or may not be an announcement that Anthony has to make on the show at some point during the show. So I don't know where you want to start.
There may be. Why don't we start with Bernie? I mean, in all honesty, it's the right thing to do. Absolutely, start the show with a Bernie tribute. I was away when the news broke. Matter of fact, so it was my anniversary on Sunday, and Maria and I were up in Niagara Falls, and she had never been. I've been there many times, but she had never been. So on Sunday, we were down. We were doing the thing called Journey Behind the Falls. Basically, we were down in these tunnels behind Niagara Falls. It's like this little tour thing that you do, whatever. There's zero cell reception down there. Zero. And so what you do is you do that, and then you kind of walk out first of all, you go behind the scenes, and you're behind the water. It's really kind of cool. And then they take you around like just to the side of it, and you're on this deck that's like out in the open, but you're maybe 30 feet from the closest side of the falls coming down. Very powerful. You get soaking wet. It's pretty cool. It's pretty awesome. Well, as soon as I stepped out onto that platform, my phone, which is in my pocket, starts buzzing out the wazoo. And I'm like, all right, I'm just getting some updates. Well, I figured it would be over in like 30 seconds, except it kept going and going and going and going. And so at one point I said to Maria, I said, I got to pull out my phone and see what the heck's going on. And that's when I found out that Bernie had passed. And it was a pretty sad moment because, you know, we got to know Bernie pretty well, but Bundy, you've probably known him better than all of us. But I've known Bernie, you know, 20 some years as well. And it hit me. It hit me because the guy was just a gem of a human being. Like, aside from the fact that he is a Mount Rushmore player in the city of Philadelphia's professional sports history, and brought the 2 Stanley Cups to the city. Aside from his Hall of Fame career, he was just as nice a human, a nicest person as there was. He showed up at everything. He was happy to be always smiling, always shaking hands, always posing for pictures, and great stories. And he was just one of those people that got it more than anybody else in sports. And so, like, that one hurt, and it hurt more because you didn't know it was coming, right? Like, it'd be different if like he was sick and you knew that, it's any day now kind of thing. Like, you kind of prepare yourself for it. This one kind of got you because you weren't prepared for it. And he was active right up until the last minute. Like, he was active on social media, active that past weekend, right? Like, it's very, very difficult for the Flyers family and the hockey family to lose a legend like Bernie that quickly, that suddenly.
Yeah, it was. I found out too. I was in Minnesota, actually on the field at the game, when I got a text. And they just kept coming through for about an hour after that about Bernie's passing, and I was devastated because he was such a happy-go-lucky guy, larger than life. He treated everybody and made everybody feel as special as he really was as a human being, and that's something that I don't think anybody will ever forget. You could see regular fans that weren't alumni or had a close relationship to Bernie, with their pictures, posting pictures and their thoughts and emotions about Bernie. And you know what? Every one of them was just so positive. He took pictures of everybody, always flashing those 2 Stanley Cup rings. The best story I have about Bernie Parent, we were in London, Ontario, probably, I'm going to say about 2012, when the Flyers used to go up there and play. And I was doing radio, and the Flyers flew up charter on the day of the game, and they were going to fly home after. And Bob Kelly and Bernie Parent were in London, Ontario, doing ambassador work that whole week leading up to the game. It was a big production. The Flyers were playing the Leafs in London, Ontario, sold-out building, and those guys were there that whole week doing their work and their ambassadorship job for the Flyers. And they said they were driving home after the London game in a car. And I was, of course, on the team charter. And I thought to myself, you know what? It would be pretty cool to take a 9 or 10 hour ride back with Bob Kelly and Bernie Parent and listen to stories the whole way home. And that's exactly what I did. And there's certain little decisions you make in life when you look back at them and you say, how cool an idea was that, or how great of a thought was that I was able to do that. And I did. And I listened to Rascal stories for 9 or 10 hours on that way home. I got basically a tour and an inside look at this 1970s hockey teams, personalities of all the players. The relationship between Bob and Bernie was unbelievable. And the love that those players have for each other will transcend time. So it was an unbelievable ride for me. I got to sit there and hang out with 2 great Flyers legends. But Bernie was obviously at the top of that list in terms of, a guy that was somebody that was so special, so unique as a player, but he gave everybody that amount of time that you wanted to have. And he made you feel, as I said, he made you feel as truly as special as Bernie really was. So he's going to be missed. I mean, he was at a lot of events. He was at a Flyers caravan last Friday down in Delaware with the Flyers alumni. I couldn't go to it, as I said, I was away. But as Anthony said, he was involved with a lot of stuff right up until his passing, and it was always great to see Bernie. Even he'd show up with a sore back. He showed up at the alumni golf tournament. He couldn't play, but he had a smile on his face, and he lifted joy to everybody that got a chance to speak with him, as he always did. So. Sad to see a guy go like that. And I think you said it well, Anthony. Why did it have to be so quick and so sudden? You wish you could have known something was wrong and had a chance to say goodbye to Bernie properly. But I think everybody will carry such great memories in their hearts and their minds of the stuff that he was able to provide for them that I think that will also transcend time. He was a gift to Philadelphia. He was a gift to the hockey world. And I think anybody that came across that's going to be able to tell a great story about Bernie Parent. R.I.P. to really the GOAT. I mean, he was the GOAT as a person. He was a GOAT as a player. And he will be sorely, sorely missed.
So, Russ, before and you're muted, by the way, anyway. I don't know why.
There we go. Because I was working on something over here. But
yeah.
Before Greg Bondarenko put this.
Before you put the video out, I did want to share a funny story for Bernie. And I actually wrote about this, but this was kind of funny. So, about that was 12 years ago or so, when the Hockey Hall of Fame was inducting Fred Shero into the hall posthumously. Ed Snyder had decided he was going to bring all of the Broad Street Bullies to Toronto for the event, right? And so we were all going up there. I was a team employee at the time, and I had a day off before the event. And so I had driven down to Niagara Falls just to go to the casino at the time. And I did pretty well in the casino. Like I actually had a really good night at the blackjack table. It was a pretty good day for the kid, right? I did really well. So we go back up for the celebration. And then afterwards, Snyder has a party. He rented out this restaurant and had a party for all the Broad Street Bullies. And there I am hanging out with them. And I'm feeling myself a little bit. And I start bragging about the fact that I won this money the night before. And we're telling some stories, and I was talking about the story that was told to Joe Watson years ago about it was a playoff game, and there was a timeout on the ice, and Bernie called Joe over, and Joe thinks he wants to talk strategy, and Bernie says to him, Joe, I think tonight I'm going to have 2 slices of the pizza, right? And so I tell that story like it's something that they had never heard before. Of course, they've heard it a million times. They've told it themselves a million times, but we're just kind of joking around that night. Later that night, I'm off to the side with some other Flyers employees, and all of a sudden the waiter comes over with a bunch of boxes of to-go pizza and the bill. And they hand me the bill. And Bernie walks over, doesn't even say a word, just smiling, taps me on the shoulder, opens one box, takes 2 slices out, and walks away. Like, that was the most unbelievable troll job. So they're all laughing. They all got me, right, because I won that money. So they made me buy all this pizza. And then Bernie came over and took 2 slices. I think was an automatic. It's one of the most memorable stories I have from my time in hockey.
I pulled up at a gas station about 15 years ago. It was not far from my house in Marlton, New Jersey, and I pull up at a tank and one of the stations, and who's in front of me? It's Bernie Parent by himself in his car. And I get out, hey, Bernie, how are you, buddy? How's everything going? Hey, how are you? How's everything going? Huh? And my friend Paul, who was in the car with me, we were going golfing. And he gets out of the car and he sees Bernie. He gets kind of excited, and Bernie looks at him and he goes, one time there I was playing the Rangers at the Garden, and a guy threw hot coffee all over my back as I was skating around the back of the rink. And the more I look at you, I think you might be the fucker that did it.
That's not a Bundy bomb. That's a Bernie bomb.
That's a Bernie bomb.
Bernie, and I started dying, and my friend was just stunned. He just started laughing after, because I knew it was just Bernie. But that was Bernie in a nutshell. Right on the spot. Never met my friend in his life. And he said, I think you're the guy that poured the hot coffee on me back in 1975 at the Garden. Just a classic, and those stories go on and on and on. We could sit here for hours telling them. But what a one of a kind human being he was, for sure.
What's interesting, guys? Like, I didn't have the connection that you guys did with him. I only met him, I think, a handful of times. But the experience I had with him is what so many people have said across social media and across TV and everything, whether it's radio people, TV people, fans, everybody. When you would meet Bernie Parent, he would make you feel special. And no one knows that, right? Like, as a professional athlete or whatever, you don't necessarily owe anyone anything the time of day. It is nice to give back to fans, but like, ultimately you're a human being just kind of existing in life. Bernie would make you feel special. in some way. You would feel like you walk away and you had a personal connection with Bernie Perron. And that was always a really cool thing. Now, I saw that there were people saying, like, hey, the 2012 alumni game. Mike Boots says the only time I saw him play in person was at that alumni game. That was such a cool moment to watch him take the ice. I go back to one of the times that we met him and that he was on the show. And just for the positivity and the warmth that he brings and the quick wit. And that to me is the thing that like I will remember Bernie Perron for. I certainly was not around for his playing days, but I want to go out to a clip from, I think it was back in 2024. We were doing the Snyder Youth Hockey fantasy draft, and Bernie hops on the show, and he has one or two lines within like a 30, 40-second window that absolutely just give you an idea of what a jokester the guy could be. So this is Ant setting the stage of the last time we talked to Bernie had been a year prior at Puddler's Kitchen for the Glenn Macnow beer event. So here's Bernie Perron.
It's good to see you.
The last time we had you on was at the Jonesy beer event at Conshohocken Brewing Company.
Wow.
And that was it was good to catch up with you then.
That's a long time ago. Jesus was alive.
Season
Jesus was alive. All right. And there's another one.
Why though, Bern? Because that was like the first 10 games, and now the season's over. It's like, oh my God, that was so fast.
Oh yeah. Life. You have to enjoy. Life goes by fast, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to pick. Let us turn for your beautiful wife for the pick.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And now, Ant, you're the one who sets up this next one.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So how you doing, Bernie? How you feeling?
With my hands. Yeah.
How are you feeling with my hands? I mean, geez, like 45 seconds, and then you tell him to go across the street to the comedy club. What a good guy. Going back and listening to that interview, that appearance on the show, is equal parts wonderful and soul warming. And then there's also this like really sad moment in it where he talks about like wanting to live to 95. And so I think that we all probably could benefit from the advice that he gave early in that clip, which is life goes by really quickly. Like you have to appreciate every day you have. And I think it's probably safe to say, guys, that Bernie lived a very happy life. He lived a very meaningful life, and he left a very positive impression on thousands and thousands of people. And it's also pretty important, I would say, contextually, for a guy who played in the 70s to have made the kind of impact he has, where you look at people who are my age and even younger who say, all right, all-time Philly athletes, all-time Philly personalities, all-time Flyers. Bernie Perron's name is still brought up. None of us watched him play live, and yet he has done so much and been so out in the community and present and such a positive light in this Philly sports sphere that he has become synonymous with Philadelphia sports. So it's a pretty awesome legacy I think he leaves behind.
Yeah, no doubt. Larger than life, larger than the game in a certain way, which is almost impossible to do. There's only a handful of players who could have that. Bernie's one of those guys. Maybe there may be 10 in the history of the game that can command that. He's one of them.
Yeah. Agreed. All right, so we send our very best to Bernie's family and his friends.
And Jenny, his wife, of course, and who's I just got a text from Jenny this morning. I texted her when I found out about Bernie, and she's probably been spending most of the week getting back to people, but I just heard back from her today, and very grateful to get the message. She's such a great lady and a great couple, and I'm thinking of her. My thoughts and prayers are with Jenny and family right now.
All right, now we don't have a good way to transition. All right, we just don't. But I will go from the idea of somebody who played for the Flyers in the past, and we did get a super chat here, Bundy, and it's directed at you. And so we're going to keep that theme going until we talk about the current team. Sinister dropped us a super chat in Canadian money. Thank you, Sinister. Says, Bundy, could Desjardins play in today's NHL? I'm asking because lots of defensemen couldn't translate due to the rule change after the lockdown.
Yeah, he'd be a star in the league just the same. He wouldn't get hit like he did. He wouldn't be as physical as he was. Yeah, he wasn't physical. That he wouldn't be out physical on a nightly basis, because he wasn't the biggest guy in the world, but he was slick then. He'd be even slicker in this league today. He'd be a star defenseman in this league without a doubt today too.
All right, now.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about it.
that takes us to the current team, because I think there's a question of whether or not some of the guys on this team are capable of having their games translate to the NHL. And there are a bunch of spots on this team that presumably seem open, Ant. We've now seen Tyson Foerster shed the no-contact jersey, which is a good sign. Good sign that he could be ready early in the regular season, it seems like. It doesn't seem like anybody's talking about him suiting up here in the preseason, but maybe that second week, I think is what Danny had said most recently. You have a guy in Nikita Grabenkin who's made a pretty good impression. That even goes back to the rookie games, and it seems like he's been building some chemistry with Michkov. Speaking of Michkov, we're seeing a lot of footage coming out of camp, and Ant, you've been down there a couple of times, I think, of Zegras and Michkov spending extra time on the ice together. So I wanted to kind of get, from your perspective, being down there around the team a bit here during the preseason, what are the vibes around the team? What's the vibe around Michkov? There was also a quote Couturier kind of put out there about, he's clearly the future of the team. How do things kind of look from your vantage point right now, specifically around that Michkov, Zegras, even Grabenkin crew?
Well, I'll tell you, the vibe is pretty good. I mean, the everybody down there is really kind of excited about the way things are with Tockett and the way he operates and his coaching staff operates. So the players are really into it, and they're really excited about getting into the season. So that's a positive. That's certainly a good thing. There's any kind of frustration that they may have had at the end of last year doesn't seem to be there, right? There seems to be a lot of positivity. So there should be, fans should be excited by that. And it was interesting. I forget. I feel bad who we were talking to at the time because I was so distracted. I believe it was. I forget who was even talking at the time. It was one of the players was in the press room on the podium, and we're sitting there talking, and I'm kind of looking out the window to my left because Michkov and Zegras are down there doing no-look pass drills to each other, and I was like just fascinated by this because this is what was happening while we were talking to Noah Cates, I believe it was at the time. That's who it was, and I'm just kind of like distracted the entire time. And at the other end of the ice, you had Sanheim and Drysdale doing some stuff as well. They were the only four players left on the ice after practice, but I was really focused on Michkov and Zegras, just really kind of making skill plays with one another. And you could see like Mishkov's doing like looking one way and passing the other, and Zegras cutting to the net and tipping the puck in. Like, so they're just working on timing things. And, that's kind of a really cool thing to see that kind of creativity is happening after practice and that they're doing it on their own because they feel like it's something that they can do. Right. And the thing that I think is most impressive about the camp so far as the way Tockett runs things. And I asked Rick about this, because one of the things Noah Cates said is he said, I feel like I can give more offensively. And then, obviously Tyson Foerster was saying the same thing. He feels that there's another level for him as well. And I asked Tock about it, and he said, yeah. And he said, it's because I don't like teams that are robotic. Now, I don't necessarily know if he meant that as this team was robotic last year and he's trying to change that out of them, or that he just means in general, which I tend to believe it was more the latter, but you can never assume. You can always, there could always be something else to it. But he says he doesn't like teams that just believe that they have to play their structure and play their system and never branch off from that. He said 80% of the time you should be doing that. He said the other 20% of the time you should be looking for opportunities. And he said, in other words, the puck doesn't always have to go low to high, crash the net. He said, what I want to see guys do is that sometimes you have the space down there when you're down low, just take it to the middle. Just go to the middle yourself, right? And make a play there. And get creative and let the other responsible players, say, hey, all right, this guy's going for that. I'm going to go for this. I'm going to, cover on this backside. So all that stuff needs to happen. And he's trying to make that a mindset for this team. He's trying to get them out of the routine of we have to do it one way and one way only. And he feels that doing that will unlock some of the offensive ability of some of these players. And so like that's something that I think is really important for this team to take that, the next step forward to becoming a, really competitive team.
Everybody wants to believe that they can add more offensively, but sometimes it's just hard to add more offensively. You could say, like, it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to actually go out and do it. Because I've heard lots of guys over the years tell coaches, I have more to give, there's more in me to give offensively, and there really isn't. That's the thing. You kind of hit a plateau. I do think Noah Cates, who went on a nice streak last year, is a guy that may be able to provide a little bit more offense with the good defense that he provides for this hockey team. But I do think that I don't know if – I mean, they were a robotic team under Torts, when you really think about it. And I think Talk has probably seen some of the trends that dictate that from what he's seen in training camp so far. You want guys to be able to recircle around the puck, to go up high again when a guy's pinching, or when there's to make sure you have proper support. Those are all super important parts of the game of hockey where you're not getting outmanned in small spaces on the ice, and you have to have that extra layer of defensive presence no matter what you're doing. And I think that's one thing that Rick Tockett's going to do. He wants guys to be open and loose in terms of their ability of what they want to do offensively, but you can't sacrifice that for the defensive side of the puck. And that's going to be something that he's going to make sure that guys are really, really on their toes with. If you're going to get up the ice, if you're going to take that extra chance, you got to make sure that there's support. You got to make sure you're doing the right thing with the puck. I love about putting the puck into the middle of the ice, making quicker plays at the center of the ice. I think is going to pay dividends for this team, because I think that was one of the areas last year that they did not attack enough, was the middle of the ice. I think they got around playing too much perimeter hockey, and if you shoot a guy to the middle, stick on the ice, you can create a lot of traffic in and around that area. That's why the Florida Panthers win Stanley Cups. They play in the middle of the ice between the hash marks, and they do it as well or better than anybody I've seen do in a long, long time. So those are little things I think that the Flyers could pick up from. But I would be very careful as a coach when a player tells me that there's more offense there. I have to see it to believe it, and then learn to build that trust into it as well.
I guess, the real question here, guys, is, in the offseason, when the Flyers went out and they got Zegras, obviously the thought was he's going to play center. And then it felt like there was a little bit of hedging going on about, like, well, he's got to be a 200-foot player. He has to understand the responsibilities of playing center, or he might end up playing wing. And right now it feels like they are going to give him every opportunity to sink or swim. But really, like, I would almost expect he's going to get a significant runway here to prove that he can be that center that they've thought that they were acquiring, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's certainly going to be the case. Certainly for the beginning of the season. I mean, when you say runway, I think you're probably looking into the first couple months of the season at the very least that he's going to play the position. And I think that they're confident that he will get there. And what I mean by get there is, like, no one's going to expect Trevor Zegras to suddenly turn into, a Selke candidate, right? He's not going to be a two-way forward, but you at least be responsible enough, right? And you just have to be, you have those trade-offs, right? A guy that's a little bit more offensive-minded is maybe going to be lack a little bit more on the defensive side. And so you take that trade-off as long as the production is there, but you also don't want it to be that he's completely neglecting the responsibilities on the defensive part of his game, right? So he has to do certain things. And I think earlier this summer, Tockett said that, they had to sit down and they talked. It was a good conversation. And he said, here's what we want you to do. Here's the non-negotiables, right? Like, these are the things you have to do better. You have to do well. You have to do within our system in order to stay at this position. And so I think it's going to be a little bit of that, but then they're also going to give him the ability to be creative, improvise a little bit if you have to, and make some things happen, and, pressure the defense, force them to make a bad decision or a wrong decision. And then you make the right, nice little pass and you get an easier goal. Right. So I think that that's going to be part of it. And I think that they're going to do it through communication. And what I mean by that, Russ, is, and they've already talked about this a little bit too, and Konechny was talking about this. He was saying that it's the way that they operate is something he's never seen before. And he's had multiple coaches. So it's not just like we're saying, oh, this is just different than Torts. This is different than a lot of coaches. And basically what it is that Tockett says, here's what I'm seeing, and here's what I think would be better. But you tell me what you're seeing, and let's have a conversation about it and make a determination together as to what the best way of going forward is. So the players have a little bit of ownership and input into the decisions that the team is going to make, and that once that, and then they make a call collectively, and then you follow that, right? You follow that, and it could be the player could be right, not the coach, right? And that could be the case. And Tockett's really open to that. He's really open to the players having that input. And so I think that the players, when you have that input, you feel like you have more ownership of what you're doing. And so therefore you're going to be more likely to come through and play it at your highest level because you have that ownership, and it's not a detachment from the separation of coach and player.
So I guess the question here is whether or not it's going to pay dividends, and the creativity that this team feels like they might be able to have under Tockett. Couturier had a quote yesterday or 2 days ago where he essentially intimated that when it comes to the power play, he thinks the power play is going to be better because it felt like last year guys were worried that if they made a single mistake on the power play, they were going to get yanked off and not have their time. It feels like Couturier has taken a lot of shots at Torts in the aftermath. I would also point out the fact that he was pretty vocal while Torts was still here, especially in the last year. There is something to be said for accountability, I guess. If the idea here, or if there's maybe a fear from some fans that Tockett is going to be too laissez-faire and be like super player coach like Alain Vigneault, I think we can probably assuage those concerns, right? Like Tockett will give to a certain extent, but he's not a pushover.
Correct. No, you're 100% right.
So ultimately, it should be a net positive for some of the younger guys, especially that have that creativity. They might actually be able to put it to use this year. I don't know. It's a very interesting spot the Flyers find themselves in because they've got some of their established guys. They've got their Konechny's of the world. They have their Couturiers who are trying to still rebound off those back surgeries and hopefully find some form of old form. You have an Owen Tippett who it seems like Tockett believes in a lot. This organization believes in. Forster, everybody's talking about. Tockett even said in this past week that Sidney Crosby got in touch with Tockett to tell him how much he enjoyed having Forster around and that Forster is a sponge. And so then it's starting to feel like there's a lot of momentum behind Tyson Forster's name as well. And you got your Zegras, you have your Mishkov, you have guys like Brink that are back. It feels like that part of the roster is pretty settled. Maybe a Grebenkin makes the lineup. We'll see what happens there. The blue line feels a little bit unsettled, especially without Risto. What do you guys see as the plan on the blue line, especially with Risto? I mean, God knows how long he's going to be out, right? Like they're talking about the first month or two of the season, right? Like they're not saying Risto is going to be ready by week 2 of the regular season.
I think he'll be ready sometime in November.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he'll be ready.
Far ways away.
Bundy, did you want to answer that first, or do you want me to go off of?
No, I think with the defense, if you look at the roster and you're just doing a pencil to paper type of thing, I think that the Flyers defense is going to come into question early in the season. I think there's going to be people that are going to try to expose them based on some of the past trajectory of what this defense has been. There's guys that have taken strides. I think one of the big keys for me this year is going to be Drysdale. I think he absolutely has to turn the corner somehow, some way, make better decisions with the puck, be a better all-around player. Again, he's not going to be a world beater in his own zone because he's not big enough to be, but I do think that he can be a little bit more like a Duncan Keith, who used to defend relentlessly with his stick and his body positioning, but also made really strong offensive plays. So let's see what Tockett kind of given him a little bit of the reins as the number one power play guy or that power play quarterback that can kind of settle things down. Let's see if that gives a guy like Drysdale some confidence to come through it. But they're going to miss Risto to start the season, but that can't be in their line of sight in terms of any excuses. They're going to have to come out and have a good start to the season. Sanheim is going to have to be their best defenseman, and he's going to have to look like that most every night. I think to start the season, especially till they get healthy and get that veteran presence back on defense with Risto. But I do think there's other younger guys that have to continue their development forward because right now, based on the defense and certainly the goaltenders, those are the question marks for this Flyers team right now as we sit here.
And do you see Tockett going? Go ahead. And then
I just want to answer Daryl's question. Yeah, he had a ruptured triceps tendon and needed surgery back in March, which they felt like would be about a 7-8 month kind of recovery. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
on the idea of young guys having to take the next step, find some confidence, it feels like there's a possibility here. York could maybe see some power play time, right? It's been kind of bantied about.
So
that might be a good way to kind of get his head on straight and maybe kind of help him carry some confidence into even strength. Your thoughts?
I think Cam York is a really interesting character in this play for the Flyers, because I think that they feel that there's a lot more there, right? And I think that they want to see him kind of become unbridled now, because he was so caught up in the bad relationship that he had with Tortorella, that they feel like they can really let him loose a little bit and he can be a much better player. They think he's a much better defensive player than they originally thought he was going to be initially. He's better in his own end than they thought he was going to be, but he hasn't provided the play in the offensive side of the zone that they thought that he was going to do. So I think that it's kind of been like he's been a disappointment where they thought he was going to be good, but he's been better than where they didn't think he was going to be good, right? So I think that they want to find him. They say, okay, well, that's a positive. Let's get him to where we think he can be. And I think that they're hoping that will come out now, again, with better coaching for him, better relationship with the coaches. So I think he is the most integral factor. Yes, Travis Sanheim needs to be the best defenseman. There's no question about that. But I think where York is will allow you to determine where everybody else falls in line in this, in the defense with Jamie Drysdale and Nick Seeler. And it's going to be Helge Grans probably to start the year to replace Risto. I think he's got a leg up over both over Zamula, over Ginning, over the guys that they brought in, Gilbert, Juleson, all those guys. I honestly think it's Grans that will get the first look in the top six as a right shot D. So I think that's really what you're looking at. And then, the number 7 defenseman, somebody's going to get claimed off waivers, because you got both Ginning and Zamula who would have to go on waivers. I think if you put either one of them on, somebody else will claim them. So they're going to lose somebody on waiver wire. It's just a matter of which. And I think one of them ends up.
Where do they sit, Anthony, with the oh god, I got a brain cramp. The small stature defenseman that got up here and played last year.
Emil
Andre, yeah.
So here's the thing with him, Bundy, is that so they like him and they like what he does, but he has lacked consistency. And Talk was talking about that the other day. Talk was talking about how Andre needs to play more consistently. So they see things that they like, but it's just not enough consistency. And so you couple that with the fact that you already have some smaller defensemen in York and Drysdale, and you can't envision a way to have all three of them in the lineup together. So I think Emil Andre is once again going to start in the AHL. Not because he's not an NHL caliber defenseman, but he's not at the level he needs to be, and he's small. So like maybe if he had some size, you could probably get through the inconsistencies in his game at the NHL level a little bit. But because he's a smaller player, I think that they don't want to run that risk of having a bunch of small D on the ice. So I think he's going to start the year at in the AHL, and they'll figure it out. I mean, he'll probably be one of your first guys that you call up, but I don't think he's making the team. I really don't.
That leads us to the net.
Yeah.
It is a clusterfuck. Let's call it what it is. And I know that it's early and I know it's the preseason, but it is an abject disaster right now. So the Flyers traded away Ivan Fedotov to Columbus. They've played 3 preseason games so far. They won their first game 3-2 in a shootout. They lost their second game 4-2 to the Canadiens. They lost yesterday 5-1 to the Caps. Here's some goalie stats from the first 3 games. First game, Kolosov allowed 2 goals on 17 shots faced. Not ideal. Game 2, Kolosov gives up 1 goal on 13 shots faced. Ersson gives up 2 goals on 9 shots faced. That's actually the game that he got pulled after the first period. Then there was the miscommunication, supposedly, where Tockett had said he was going to play the whole game. And then in post-game, he was like, no, I meant he was only going to play the first period, which had some alarm bells going off, right? And then yesterday, Kolosov is in net, gives up 4 goals on 20 shots. Vladar comes in, gives up 1 on 9 shots faced. It's not great right now. I'm not saying that it's a disaster. I'm not saying it's always going to be bad. But, Ant, we can go back to the offseason. I think, all agreed that the Flyers would have been best suited trying to find someone who was better than Sam Ersson. And that was about it, right? They brought in Vladar, who can be a good backup. I'm not convinced right now that Sam Ersson is anything more than a backup. And last year was an indictment on him to some extent that he couldn't stay healthy, couldn't really hold up to the increased workload. And you can even go back to the half season before when Carter Hart left, that the results weren't exactly spectacular there either. How concerned do you think the team is with the current situation in net between Ersson, Vladar? I don't really know. Kolosov and Bjarnason are going to be in the A. But how do you think they're feeling right now after 3 games?
Yeah, well, I can't imagine that they're too thrilled with the way things are going right now. As a matter of fact, if I had to say, not just in the games, but if you're watching practices in camp, the goalie that's been the best for them, believe it or not, has been Kolosov. He has been their best goal. That doesn't mean he's going to make the team. Doesn't mean that he's going to, get an early shot at the NHL level. But he has been their best goalie for whatever it's worth. Yeah, it's a concern. It really is. And they may be going into the season with 2 guys at the NHL level who are no better than being a backup goalie. And if that's the case, you're not going to win a lot of games.
No.
I think when I look at this team, and this is why I'm having such a hard time determining where they're going to fall in the pecking order of the Metropolitan Division, because I think that they have the potential to get as high as 4, and they could fall as far down as, say, 7. I really think there's a lot of fluctuation here, and a lot of it tends to circle around the fact that I don't like their goaltending. And I'm not certain that they like their goaltending. And I think that that's really what it comes down to for me. If these guys can, get it together and be at least passable goalies, with a save percentage around 900, your goals against, high, low 3, right around 3, if that, I mean, that's the average. I'm asking for average, right? Then I think that the Flyers are a good shot at being a potential playoff team. If they can't be average goaltending and they're below average goaltending, forget it. They're going to be in the lottery again next year.
Bundy, do you think there's any frustration there that nobody's been able to really set themselves apart, kind of stand out as a guy that looks reliable through 3 games?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it is early. I mean, you're going to be able to look past some of this a little bit because it is, but it's a concern because, you're letting up 4 goals one game, 5 the next game, and then, those are going to be the stats that you look at. So I don't know really, how you gauge this moving forward, but is it a concern? Yeah, it's a concern. It is. I mean, and in terms of the way it looks like it's slotted, it looks like it's going to be Ersson and Vladar as your 2 guys. I don't want to play another 3 goalie musical chair again. I don't want to do that this year. I don't think they will. I think this is one here where you have to go with what you've got, and there's really no other choice at this point. I mean, you've got to ride those 2 guys out that you have. They both have the most NHL experience, but they're going to have to be better than what they've been. I mean, Ersson's going to have to find a way to get his save percentage up over 9.
He has not done it to this point in his career.
That'll make a big difference. Your goalie's got to win you 1 out of every 7 or 8 of your wins. When your team's not playing good, your goalie's got to be the one that's got to be able to have the spine to bail the team out. And that's the way it's always been, no matter what with goaltending. You have a goalie win a playoff game. And that's usually what happens sometimes when your team doesn't have it that night. You need your goalie to step up. And I don't think that we've seen enough of that here yet in Philadelphia with the goaltending duos or trios that we've had and seen in the past couple of years. So they're going to have to find a way to steal a game once in a while, and that's going to keep the Flyers in the standings or at least help climb the standings when needed.
Here's the problem, right? So if you look at Ersson's stats, like year over year over year, if you want to call it, like his first year, he played 12 games, 2022, 2023, 307 goals against, 899 save percentage. All right. 2023-24, that was the season where Hart was gone second half of the year and his workload increased. He played 51 games, started 49. He had a 282 goals against and an 890 save percentage. You go, all right, maybe with the full off season, maybe knowing that he's going to be the man going into the upcoming year, he's going to build off of that. No. Goals against went from 2.82 up to 3.14. Save percentage dropped from 890 to 883. I'm not convinced. And it sucks because there was a time where I thought Ersson looked like he could push Hart for some playing time. And now he just looks like a guy that it ain't there. I hope that he pulls the nose up on it. I'm not ready to throw in the towel on Sam Ersson's career by any stretch. But it's like the numbers aren't exactly encouraging at this point. And then if you look at Vladar and you go, all right, well, is there any hope there? Yeah, I mean, he had a save percentage, over 900 back in 2021-22. Last year, he was really close, 898 save percentage in 29 starts, 2.8 goals against. Vladar's a good backup. But we don't have there's not a 1 right now. I'm not entirely convinced that Ersson's going to be that guy. Obviously, there's a thought, Ant. Zegras has had an incredibly strong start again in the KHL. Super young, still under contract for, I think, another year or two. It's not as if Russian players can't get out of their contracts in the K. But you're not going to rush Zegras over here just because Ersson kind of ain't getting the job done. I guess the question is, from the people that you've talked to, is there an eye? Is there a wandering eye to Zegras? Not for this year, maybe not even for next year, but they are thinking as highly of him as a lot of people in the hockey community seem to be.
I don't think there's a rush to it. I mean, he's 20 years old, right? And and like you said, he's under contract over there. I think that they view him as the guy that is going to be the future goalie, but he's still a bit away, right? And he has gotten off to a good start in Russia. He has he's only played 3 games for SK St. Petersburg.
949
really
save
good
percentage. 949 save percentage.
3 really good games.
1.66 goals against. Stud.
But he didn't play their first 2 weeks of the season. He was on the bench.
Yeah.
And I asked about that, and I was told that they just do things differently in Russia for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. It's more about they're going to give veterans their time and benefit of their time, and he's just waiting for an opportunity. It's not like he was playing poorly. It's not like he said something and was being disciplined. None of that. He was just sitting, waiting for his opportunity. They don't believe in just playing those guys, right? But ultimately, I think that, yes, he's going to be the guy that they want to bring in here. It's just not going to. Don't think it's going to happen this season, later this season, end of the season. Try and get him out of that contract. I don't think that's happening. So
they're going to have to that point, though, Ann, with this. If this, let's just say hypothetically, it's a rough start. We've looked at the schedule before. The start of the season's hard. It's going to be, it's murderer's row. If the forwards are producing, if the defense performs around what you would expect them to relative to the talent they have, but the goalies are just dog shit, or Ersson is vastly underperforming, Vladar is doing what he's supposed to do as a backup, how long into the season do you think this could go? If the forwards are performing, defense is kind of up to snuff, how long can you see Danny sitting back and saying, yeah, we're going to just keep rolling with this before they consider making a move?
But what move are you making? That's the thing.
Well, I don't know. Could it be jostling Ersson and Kolosov? Could it, if Kolosov plays well in the A, could we see him get some time up here? Are they gonna play that rotation game again? I don't know.
So the one thing to keep in mind is they are also trying to develop Bjarnason, right? And so they don't want to throw him to the wolves in the sense of you've got to play a bunch of games in the AHL. They want him to kind of be the backup this year, take his time, work his way in, see what professional hockey's like. It's a little bit different than what he's used to, right? So that kind of thing. So unless there's an injury or someone is absolutely awful, I don't think Kolosov's going to come up. I think there's a possibility that he does at some point, but I don't think it's just going to be because, hey, these guys aren't playing great. Let's call Kolosov up. And then because that impacts Bjarnason, right? And I think that's how they're looking at it. They're looking at who they want to develop properly, and they don't want to hurt that player, right? Even if it means that they got to struggle a little bit at the NHL level. Now, could he go out and trade for a goalie that's available, or find somebody somewhere else? Yeah, I mean, you could possibly do that, but that's why I was underwhelmed by what he did in the offseason with goaltending. Like Dan Vladar is fine, whatever. I'm not knocking Vladar individually, but I felt like they needed something better than that, or at least something else, another possibility somewhere. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens, but I think that this is one of those conundrums that I'm not certain it is easy to resolve if it goes sideways.
I think we're going to leave it there, guys. Anything else you wanted to get to from this current team?
The only thing I want to mention is someone had asked, I forget who it was earlier, asked about Jett Luchanko. I just wanted to kind of mention that. Look, he's going to be part of camp here till the bitter end. I don't see him making the roster. And the Flyers would they prefer that they had the option? So there's this new agreement as part of the CBA between the league and the Players Association that would allow for teams, even this year, to put one player who is under the age of 20 on an AHL roster rather than sending them back to junior hockey. That would make perfect sense for Jett Luchanko this year. That's what the Flyers would love to do. However, the little codicil, the little asterisk, the footnote at the bottom of that agreement is pending the CHL, the Canadian Hockey League, Junior League, agreeing to this, which they have not agreed to this, right, at this point. Now, there's a lot of people who believe that this will be in place for next season, but not in time for the end of camp. And so, therefore, the Flyers will have no other alternative other than to send Jett Luchanko back to Guelph. And there's a real belief that hurts his development because he's playing in a league where he's too good for that league. And it's really not, he's not going to get better. In fact, he may even develop some bad habits.
Ooh.
Well, it would happen, right? Bundy, you could talk about this a little bit. Like when you play at a level that you're too good to play at that level, you maybe start doing things that are a little bit lazy, right? Because you can get away with it because you're better than everybody down there, right?
Yeah, that's why they wanted to make that change and why they will make that change. It won't happen this year. It'll probably happen next year to allow that first-round pick to play in the American League. But, it's a tough situation for the Flyers because they have really nowhere else that they can send Jett Luchanko, right? If he can't make the Flyers right now, they're not going to thrust him into a situation that's going to hurt his development more down the long term by getting exposed. But at the same time, playing in the Ontario Hockey League for a guy who's got his kind of speed, has been a first-round pick, played in the World Juniors, you can develop some bad habits and play the game the wrong way because you're actually trying to do too much. And I think those are some of the things the Flyers have to be careful of. But at the same time, I just don't know what option they have. I mean, he's got to go back to Guelph. He's going to have to play a full season. He'll be back on the World Junior team again, which will be great. And hopefully he can make some strides there from where he was last year. He didn't play a whole lot in the World Juniors last year. But you can develop some bad habits. Unfortunately for the Flyers, there's not much they can do about this in terms of where they're sitting right now. He can't go to college because he's already signed an NHL contract, played in an NHL game. So they're stuck like that. So really, they're going to have to live with the fact that he's going to go back and hopefully try to do some of the right things and learn and continue to develop his game at that level, as difficult as that may be.
This is where your development guys are critical. Right. I mean, obviously, you can't tell a coach of Guelph how to coach a player, how to play a player, but your development guys who are staying in constant communication with the player. So this is like what, when we talk to Johnny, this is what Johnny does. And this is what Patrick Sharp does. Right. These guys go and they stay in touch with these young players and make sure that they have conversations with them and talk to them about how to be a little bit more professional at the level that they're at. Right. Because they can't really be under team control. So I think that that's really where this is, the Flyers, that's all they can do. And they just hope that it works out best for them. I expect Jett Luchanko will be back in March at some point. Whenever Guelph's not a good team. I can't imagine they're going to even be a CHL playoff team, right? So I think he'll be back sooner than guys who maybe go on those longer OHL or Q or WHL playoff runs. But at the same time, I don't know. It's disappointing. It's frustrating. And look, the Flyers aren't the only team who have this problem. Like, every team has a guy that's like this. That's 19 years old, that is not quite ready for the NHL, but that they feel like that they want to develop, and they can't because the CHL is clinging to them. Because look, the CHL is great for development until they're drafted. Then they become commodities, right? Then they become Then they become money. Then they become ticket sellers. Oh, we have so-and-so's first round pick on our team. Come see them play. That's really what this is about, right? And so the CHL wants to be compensated for losing this talent that's going to hurt. They feel is going to hurt their product. Ultimately, that's what this is going to come down to. But it's unfortunate. And it's unfortunate that this is the player that the Flyers are facing this with 1 year out. Like, almost if this had happened a year sooner, then it would be a lot better for the Flyers. It's just the timing of it's not good.
I won't say anything.
Well, I know what you're going to. You wanted to say. You wanted to say this is why it was a bad pick, but it's not.
That's not necessarily true. But I mean, I'm going to stand pretty resolute in the belief that, like, I don't think that this guy is as good as where he was drafted, and it's totally fair to kind of throw the idea out there that he might be too good for that league. Then the offense better pick up. Because what he's not showing right now, he's showing some decent intangibles when he plays. And even last year, when he was playing in the preseason, he showed some good intangibles. The offensive production has to pick up, though. Like, it has to. And so if he's going to go back, and he's going to have to go back and play for Guelph, and they're not a good team, what's the thing you always say, Ant? Somebody's got to score the points.
Yeah, sure.
All right, well, hopefully he's able to take that to another level there, figure it out. I don't know.
And you hope that's the role that they play him in, right? I mean, but you don't know what how the coaches are going to use him, right? I mean, that's what it comes down to. Like, look, the Flyers would feel fine with him going back to junior hockey if he was going back to London, for example, right? Yeah. Because that's a pro hockey factory, right? And so they know that the coaching staff there, the Hunter brothers, are going to really take care of players and make them learn how to play the game, to play it the right way at the NHL level. It's the fact that he's going to Guelph. Like, that's the thing. Or it really comes down to, he's not going to one of the top OHL teams or top CHL teams, any of the three leagues up in Canada. And so that's part of the problem. Like, if Guelph was willing to trade him to another team, well, then maybe the Flyers would feel better about it, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's not necessarily just going and playing in junior hockey. It's where he's going as well. And I think that's the disappointment. So,
that was a disappointment. Ant, do you want to give people something to look forward to, or do we have to wait?
Oh, are you talking about Snow the Goalie?
I am talking about Snow the Goalie. I don't know if you're aware that Snow the Goalie is a thing. Are we going to talk about it or no? You get to make the call.
I'll bring it up.
Then let me kind of set the stage. Last night, if you followed the show on Twitter, you will have undoubtedly seen this tweet, which got people confused, which I guess was not exactly the intention. I was hoping that more people would put it together. Some people did. But this came out yesterday. And this was happening last night. And somebody was like, oh, are you guys on the road to go cover the game in Hershey? No. And a couple of people started to put it together. But Anthony, now might be a good time to let people know what's up.
Would that have been as good a ride as Bundy riding 9 hours with Bob Kelly and Bernie?
That's what it looked like. I just sat there and listened to stories the whole way back.
No, so this is something that's new, going to be starting this year. I believe October 15th will be the first day we do this, but we are going to be doing a weekly live Snow the Goalie. And we are going to be doing it from various Chickies and Pete's around the area on Wednesday nights. I shouldn't say night. It probably gets late afternoon, early evening. The time has not officially been said. I think it's going to be 6 o'clock, but I'm not 100% sure on that. We're still kind of figuring out those last details. But we will be live. So those of you who want to come out and join us, we'll let you know each week which Chickies and Pete's we will be at. And not only that, we will probably, Russ, have the ability tech-wise to have people be part of the show as callers into the show, because we are going to be partnering with a radio station to do it. Not one of the two big ones in town, but we will be working with. So just to kind of give this a little bit of understanding why this is happening. The company that I work for On Pattison was acquired by the company that owns WBCB Radio up in Bucks County in Burlington. And they asked me if we could work out a partnership with Snow the Goalie to kind of do it, to do a weekly show that could be simulcast both through our platforms and through the radio station. And so we worked it out so that could happen. And then Chickies is going to be our sponsor. So we're going to be at Chickies and Pete's doing the show. This does not impact Press Row Show. This is just for Snow the Goalie. I guess what Russ used to call Snow the Goalie Radio.
That's right.
So that's what this is. So this will be a Wednesday night thing. But we will. The plan is for us to still be down at Wells Fargo for all the games, like we have been. So this is just something separate from that. And there are three. For anybody who's looking ahead at the schedule, be like, well, wait a second. There are 3 Wednesday home games. On those 3 weeks where there is a Wednesday home game, we will pick a different day that week to do the show from Chickie. So it'll whether it be a Tuesday or Thursday, whatever. So those 3 weeks will be on a different day, but every Wednesday. And the plan is to try and get some guests from time to time that come out and join us. And we'll have to work with the Flyers on that to maybe get somebody to pop over. And I would imagine that on those days would probably be one that was more convenient to the guest, whether it would be the South Philly location or the locations in South Jersey or whatever the case might be. But we'll let you know. But yes, we will be starting October 15th, a live Snow the Goalie from Chickies and Pete's. So hopefully you guys will come out and join us.
Yeah. It'd be great to see everybody. Also, guys, 2 weeks from tonight, I will be actually, I think, I'm not 100% sure on this yet. We're still finalizing it, but I might be throwing my hat into the ring in my first play-by-play job calling Ice Wars for BKFC. Yes. It's going to be interesting enough. They're actually, the fights are going to be at Amarant Arena in Florida the night after the Flyers play the Panthers. So I will be at the Flyers game on the 9th down in Sunrise, Florida for the Flyers opener of the season, doing pregame radio. And then I'm going to be calling Ice Wars, BKFC Ice Wars on the 10th. That will be a pay-per-view. If you want to turn in for 10 amazing fights, come on in and join me. It's going to be a spectacle for sure.
That's awesome, Bundy. Very good stuff.
Yeah. And so just it's funny that, my wife mentioned something earlier and Daryl says, oh, it's no longer called Wells Fargo. No, it's not. We are going to be down at the X now, the Xfinity Mobile Arena. And she said, are you wearing purple today to promote the Xfinity Mobile Arena? And I was like, no, but that is the thing. Like everything down there is purple now. And we got to get used to calling it the X because it's no longer the Wells Fargo Center, Daryl.
There you go. Well, anyway, I'm looking forward to taking this thing back out on the road, meet people where they're at, jump around, different Chickies. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
I'm gonna love having. I'm gonna like having our regular commenters call in. That to me is going to be fun. Like to have them call in and talk to us as opposed to us just sitting here reading the comments section.
Correct. We're still working on some tech things about whether or not we're going to be bringing comments up on the screen or not for the weekly show from Chickies and Pete's. We might not. We're going to figure that one out over the next week or so. And then I have to go. I'll be gone for a week to Vegas for work. So when I return, we'll be going live on the radio. So I have limited days left to try to figure it out. But it's going to be a lot of fun. And then as long as everything goes the way that it should, we should also be down doing every Press Row show from the X We just need a couple of people to, sign a couple of things. And we'll leave it at that. We'll leave that in their court. Let's get it done. Get it figured out.
Remember we used to say, Russ? Lawyers.
We love the lawyers. So anyway, spread the word, because starting October 15th, we'll be at a rotating set of Chickies and Pete's. And as soon as we get the schedule of which locations we'll be at every Wednesday for Snow the Goalie Radio, we will let you know. And you can come out. The beauty of it, obviously, is you don't have to buy a ticket. You just come out, come hang out. Obviously, get something to eat, get something to drink. Let's have a chat, talk some puck. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
looking forward to it.
Yeah, it'd be great.
By the way, JH kind of gives us the idea of going back to No Pucks Given Ant. Do food reviews while we're there. I like Chickies and Pete's. I like some Chickies food. So anyway.
Crab fry report.
Absolutely. Crab fry report. No? Octonauts? No, you guys are young kids. Okay. All right, well, on that, it's time to end. Thank you so much for joining all of us here on Snow the Goalie. Find Bundy on Twitter at CTerrien6 and on Twitter at AntSanPhilly. Find me on Twitter at JoyOnBroad. Support Bundy with Ice Wars in a couple of weeks. Support us when we get back out there.
Play-by-play.
Ant, are you
play-by-play? Have you thought about some taglines there, Bundy, that you're going to use?
I haven't. I actually called Jim Jackson the other day to get his thoughts on it and say, what do you think? He goes, I think you can pull it off. That was kind of encouraging, but it's not 100% yet, but it's certainly looking like that's what's going to happen. So I'll have some people with me though, working with me, but I've never done a play-by-play call. And you know what? I'm just going to treat it like I did when I broadcasted. Just make it like three guys sitting there calling a bunch of fights. Have fun with it. That's it.
Bundy, what you have to do is if somebody gets knocked out and the ref doesn't stand in, you can pull an old Jim Jackson. No call. No call. All right, well, Ant, are you doing a Fighting Words today? Is that happening? What are we doing?
So, I'm probably going to have to do it solo, though, Russell, because Bob is closing on his new home today.
Oh, good for him.
It'll probably be a solo Fighting Words, unless you want to join me and we can talk Phillies.
I don't think you want to do that.
So
what happened to Ant Jr.? Ant Jr. usually hops on.
But he has a day job on a Friday, so unfortunately he can't hop on. But normally he does if we plan it in advance. So
okay, I'll be doing my show this afternoon. You can go find the Russ Joy show. We'll probably rock and roll around 2:30, 2:45 like usual. So keep an eye out for Fighting Words. Keep an eye out for my show, and then of course go buy the pay-per-view. And listen to Bundy in a couple of weeks.
I'll get you. I'll have the info in the next couple of weeks for the pay-per-view. I'll put that. We'll put that on our site.
And in the meantime, you can drop some comments below and let us know what some of Bundy's one-liners should be on play-by-play. We need some excellent one-liners for him. So, all right, big thank you again to everybody who tuned in today to Snow the Goalie. Do us a favor, like the video, share the video, and subscribe over on YouTube. You can find this in video form as well over on Spotify. And you can find the show wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Pandora, wherever you get your podcasts. Until next week, this has been Snow the Goalie, the only Flyers podcast. We'll talk to each and every one of you very, very soon. Have a great weekend, everybody. Talk soon.